This year is going to be exciting. One of the things that I do personally, and I lead a lot of my clients through, is exactly what I'm going to talk about and sort of teach and lead you through right now. Hey, it's Adam, and you're listening to the Adam Cobb Show. Weekly content devoted to all things fitness, finding your center, and fumbling through fatherhood. Thank you for taking the time to tune in. We hope this is a space that you come to, that you can feel connected. We're better together. Please subscribe and follow all of our social channels so you don't miss a thing. Let's listen to today's episode. Happy New Year. Hello, 2025. And I'd like to say hello to you. This year is going to be exciting. I have a bunch of guests coming on this show, and I have a bunch of mini casts, mini pods that I'm going to do. And this is going to be one of those. This is going to be a mini pod. And one of the things that I do personally, and one of my dear friends does, and I lead a lot of my clients through, is exactly what I'm going to talk about and sort of teach and lead you through right now. And we're going to keep this really short because a lot of the work you have to do on your own. So go ahead, get your pen, get your paper, and I want you to take some notes. Okay, this is how all these kind of mini pods are going to be with me. So let's get going. Let's get started. Okay, so this exercise that I love to do, it's not push-ups. This exercise is all about finding your word for the year. What word defines, or do you want to define you this year? So I usually choose a word. My friend Lauren, shout out to Lauren. Love you, Lauren. Lauren always has a word and posts about her word and has great meaning. And her and I often talk about it. But I've been doing this for over 10 years, choosing a word, getting clear on the definition of this word, and then creating even a playlist so I can hear that word, so I can get all my senses. And then even writing it or maybe ordering it through Etsy or something like that so I can see that word. And I'm going to just do a short kind of guiding through this with you. If you've watched previous episodes, you've heard me speak about the 8 days a week. Really what that really is like, what's your 8th day? And I think it's just cool to include that in this moment. And if you walk through that episode, Gene, if you could link that 8 days a week episode here, right here. Is that cool? Right, that spot. And, the idea is the meditation of 8 days a week walks you through what your 8th day would be. Now, what does that really mean? That really means your ideal day. And you start to walk through that day. And this is a great way to find your word. And now maybe you already know it. Maybe you know, hey, this year I want to be strong. Maybe it's a word that you're not right now and you're trying to live into. It's sort of your compass. It's an anchor. It's your North Star. And if I could be this thing this year, this would be a great year. And I want to encourage you right now to just start writing. Start writing out some words that you probably have anywhere from 3 to 5 words that right off the bat, that these words are words that speak to you, right? So go ahead, close your eyes. Maybe do that whole rubbing of the sternum or place your hands on your heart. Take a deep breath with me. Breathe in for 4. Hold for 2 and release for 6. And let's do that again. You're breathing for 4. Hold for 2 and release for 6 seconds. And a word's going to appear, and you're going to go ahead and write that word down. Now, from that word, another word might support it or be similar. So go ahead and write that. Now, part of this exercise and how I guide clients through is I say, well, if you don't know what your word is, what do you, there's a few things I'm sure you don't want to be this year. What are those things? And people are like, oh, God, I'm just, I don't want to be this. I don't want to be stubborn this year. Great. So maybe your word's open, right? Open's a great word. So just giving you an example, maybe you were too much of one thing last year. And I think a great question to ask is, what do you want more of? This is what I ask my clients. What do you want more of this year? And what do you want less of this year? So go ahead and write that out. What do you want more of? And what do you want less of? I recently went to a resort, Terranea Resort in Palos Verdes, and met up with a few friends, Daisy, Iman, and Scarlett, actually, their daughter. It's their best friend. It's Scarlett's best friend. And when I showed up there, they had this booklet, and the booklet said, "Find Your Word 2025." Susanna Conway. Susanna, hi. Thank you so much for the work you do in the world and how you guide people to their true north. Really appreciate it. We're going to link Susanna Conway's workbook and just the link to her and where you can get some resources for her. I just took a couple notes that I want to share with you because what I loved was her wording around, and I thought, oh my God, I've done this. And of course, I was geeking out with the couple because they apparently do this every year. They've been married, and I told them, oh my God, I do this every year. and we're supposed to be at this beautiful Terranea going to the pool, and I'm just stuck with this workbook in their hotel room looking through it because I'm fascinated with it. So Susanna, you grabbed me. I'm in. I've never necessarily gave structure and a pamphlet to it, but again, it's something that I've done personally and talked about with friends and guided clients through. So I just want to share a little bit of the wording that Susanna used because it really struck me, and I think it's going to land for you. And in a moment, I'm going to share my word, and then I'm going to ask Gene his word because we want you guys to hold us accountable for our word. And Susanna said this: resolutions sound like a recipe for future guilt. That's one of the reasons she doesn't like resolutions. And I love that. She said, go running twice a week or go swimming twice a week. That has failure built in it. A word, and this is why she likes finding a word, and this is why I like finding a word affects me in a different way. It encourages me. So a word encourages me to make better choices. Now, I love that, right? I mean, a word encourages me to make better choices. Words empower, resolutions order, right? That's a distinction between that. You know, I love the whole design default model. The default is resolutions. Really, a new designing your day, designing your life has, let's pick a word for the year. So again, you might have another word that popped up. Go ahead, take a moment, write it down. Don't just listen and watch, but make this an active exercise for you. Okay. What else? Words inspire, resolutions judge. Oftentimes you can feel judged. Susanna said, and thank you, Susanna, for this is amazing. I can't break a word. She said, you can't break a word like you can break a resolution. And I love that. It's like, here's the anchor. So I didn't do it this week, but you know what? I'm anchored back to it. And I think that's something to take. This is a big shift here. And I know that if you do this, it's going to make a difference. It's going to shift something in you this year. What else? Your ideal day. So again, your ideal day, just like 8 days a week, when you start to like lay that out, what's your ideal day? What's your 8th day? You start to see a bunch of words that show up when you start to describe your perfect day, your ideal day. And then if you look at that, you go back to see what you wrote, you're going to see some words in there. They're going to pop out. And you're just going to circle those words. And you're going to write those words on another piece of paper, and that's going to help you get to that word. When it comes to having a word for 2025, I believe that if you can get this word, you start to think about what your hopes are this year, what your dreams are. One of the things we talk a lot on this show is asking for help. That asking for help is a strength. So here's a question for you. What area of your life is asking to be supported in 2025? What area of your life is asking? It's asking you right now to be supported in 2025. Your word might be in that question. So answer that question for yourself. Gene, do you have a word for this year?
I think bold.
Bold. Bold. I love that. Bold. I have my boy here. He's about to be a guest on the show right now. I'm going to shout out to him. Ralph, do you have a word?
I do.
What's your word?
My word is boundaries.
Ralph's word is boundaries. I had to bring both you guys in because we got a lot of B words shouting out here. And my word is belief. Okay, so one more time, Gene. Bold. Ralph? Boundaries. And mine is believe. And you take these words, you find a playlist, you start to listen to songs, 1 to 2 to 3 songs that have some of these words in here. Boundaries. Buy a book on boundaries. I think Ralph already did that. Gene, the word bold. How does that show up? Look up the definition of bold. What does bold mean? And then start to create your definition for you, right? How is this going to show up in your life? Now, my word is believe. Believe, believe. I mean, come on. Now, this is from Ted Lasso. This is that great scene where believe is above the locker room and it rips and it falls. And not only is this my word for the year, for many reasons that are personal. And during Ted Lasso, he has a great monologue. And it's something that I'm working on to actually just have this like in my system, right? What am I believing in this year? And how am I doubling down in my faith and in my relationship with Spirit and God? And what is belief? How does that play out in my year? Last but not least, I'd love for you to leave your word for this year in the comments. And lastly, one of the things that Susanna does is she has a word check-in. So it's like, it's cool to make the word in January, but you have to check in, and like checking in monthly really matters. And I wanted to just share 2 questions she has here. And one is, when did blank make a difference this month? So when did being bold make a difference this month? When did believing make a difference this month? When did having boundaries make a difference this month? Like, ask yourself that question. Okay. Also, if I was to truly embody blank this month, what would I do? That's a powerful question. Last but not least, because you know me, I got to throw one more in there. What is, for me, believe or belief? What is believe teaching me about myself? What is bold teaching me about myself? What is boundaries teaching me about myself? What is, whatever your word is, teaching me about myself? So this is a way to find your word. I'm so looking forward to hearing what yours is and then holding some accountability throughout the year. I'm looking forward to it. Again, this will be an anchor for you, and it's going to help you have your best year yet. As I always like to say, as my mom used to say, get out there, make a difference, find your word, and find your center.